Dear students, in this video, we are going to see the experiment number 4 of Java Programming Lab, classes and objects. So to start with, first we'll know what is meant by class. So class is a template of an object. And what is an object? So object is an instance of a class. So class is a template and object is a instance. So in this video, we are going to see how to create classes and object and how to work with constructors and how to use with getter and setter in Java program. So to work with or to create a class, basically you need to follow some 3 steps. So 3 steps. First one, you need to create a class. So basically you know that a class is a template which contains data members and also function members. And the step 2, in order to access the class, we need to create an object. And during the object creation, we need to use the keyword new that will allocate a memory dynamically for that particular object, and also it automatically invoke a constructor to initialize the data members to its default value. Then class 3, that is the step 3, we need to invoke the instance of the class. Invoke the instance. Either it can be a data member or a function member that can be accessed through the object. So to create a class, first you need to use the keyword class, followed by you need to give the class name. Then the class consists of both data member and function member. So we have to create the data member. I am going to create 2 data members. The first data member is the name of the student. So that is of string data type. And then followed by I am going to use with a private member which is of integer age. Then I am going to use with private double and then their CGPA. So based on your question, you read it, identify what is your class name and what are the data members you needed for that particular class and create that data members. Then you need to include the function member. Through the function members only you can access the data members. So I am going to create a function called as display. In that I am going to display that informations. So the name I am going to display and followed by I am going to display the age, then followed by I am going to display the CGPA. So depends on the question. You write the corresponding functions and then you need to write the logic to work with that particular function. So as per the step 1, we have created the class which consists of data members and the function members. Now we are going to the step 2. So step 2 is creating an object. So kindly you can check with whenever you can create an object, you need to create the object inside the main class. So because now in the same file I am having a class student and also I have a class called as class demo. So you may have a question, okay, I have 2 classes, then my file name what need to be saved, because in Java the class name and the file names are same. So now I have 2 classes, which class I need to use as a file name. So please remember the class which contain a main function, that should be your file name. So the class demo is a class which contain the main function. So my file name is also class demo. And within the main, you just create an object. The second step of your classes and object, that is you create with the object. So the object get created. So as I told already, whenever you create an object, you have to use the new keyword. The new keyword only dynamically allocate the memory for this particular object instance. And while doing the object creation itself, it will internally call the default constructor and also it will initialize the data members to the default value. So you want to verify it. So how to verify it? I just call the function. So this is my step 3, that is invoking the members of the class through the object reference. So this is my object reference I created for the particular class, and using that object reference you call the function. So now you just execute the program, you will get. So since you know that during the object creation, internally it will invoke the default constructor. So what the default constructor will do? The default constructor initialize the data members to the default value. What is the default value of the name? Name is a string, so default value is null. Integer, the default value is 0. Double, the default value is 0.0. Okay, that is the decimal value. So now you want to initialize the values during the object creation itself. So when I want to initialize the values during the object creation itself, then I need to write my own constructor. So I have to create a student class. Okay, so when the object creates itself, I need to initialize all the data members. The name should be John, the age should be 18, and the CGPA will be 8.6. So instead of directly passing, what you can do is you can get from the user through the scanner class, and then you pass the input to your constructor. So now what happens when this statement got executed? So it will throw an error because there we are having no constructor, because defaultly if I am calling this, it will call my default constructor and initialize. But I don't have any constructor with 3 arguments which will initialize the name, age and CGPA with the user defined values. So it is asking me, or it is giving an error, there is no such constructor defined in your program. So now this is our duty to create a constructor. So whenever you create a constructor, please remember again the 3 information. The constructor name should be same as the class name. So my class name is student. So my constructor name is same as the class name. Then constructor will not have any return type. Then we have constructor need to be right within the class where you are accessing the particular constructor. So constructors available within the same class. Constructor name should be same as the class name. Then constructor does not have a return type. Now I need to invoke a constructor with 3 arguments. So I am going to pass 3 arguments. Name. So first one is string. So string, then name, then I have the integer, age, then double, CGPA. So now the values I have passed during the object creation, that variables or that values need to be initialized to the data members through this constructor. So my data member is name, it is initialized with the value n. Then my data member is age, it will be initialized to a. And then my data member is CGPA, it will be initialized with C. So now I want to display the same thing. So now I am getting an error, that is whenever you have created the user defined constructor, that time you need to create this empty constructor also, because if I am not having any constructor in my class, then my default constructor get invoked. But if I have written some own constructors, so that time the default constructor will not be invoked. So what you have to do is you need to create one empty constructor, and then you need to initialize the values to its default values. So age I can represent 0, then CGPA I am going to represent with CGPA 0.0. Okay, so if I am not having any constructor in my class, that time my default constructor get invoked. So if I have written or I have overloaded some other constructor in my program, that time the default constructor will not get invoked. So you need to create some empty constructor. So this is actually called as empty constructor, and this is called as parameterized constructor or argumented constructor, because the constructor having some arguments to be accessible. So now again, after creating this, I am just going to display the informations. Yes, so now whatever value I have assigned, so that value I am getting now as the output. So now can I able to access the data members outside of the class, because display method I have access outside of the class. Now, can I access the name outside of the class? So again, I need to use with the variable s1.name. Okay. So when I access this, it is showing an error. The name field is not visible. So since you know about the access specifiers, basically we have four types of access specifiers in Java, which is called as default, public, private, and protected. So when I use a keyword public, that variable will be visible to the entire program. Okay, so within the class and also outside the class. But when I use with the keyword private, this data member will be visible only within this. From line number 8 to line number 25 only that variable is visible. Outside of the class, you will not able to access that particular variable. Default means it is also similar to public, but it will be used only within the file. Then protected, it is mainly related with the inheritance concept. So as of now, my variable is declared as private. So I will not able to access that variable outside of the class. That's why it is telling me the variable is not visible outside of the class. So as a rule, the private members will not be accessed outside of the class. Then what will be the solution if I want to access outside of the class? Then only you have an idea called as getter and setter. So getter and setter are the public methods which will help you to access the private members outside of the class. So how will you create the getter and setter? So you want to add the getter and setter for this private variable name. So when you right click and you can go here, you can have something called as quick fix. So when you go this quick fix, it is asking you want to create a getter and setter. So I just click it. So it will tell me what is my getter function name and what is my setter function name. So for the corresponding private member, I have the getter and setter. So now you see the getter, this is my getter, which is used to get this private data member. And then setter, which is used to set this private data member name. And here this is public, so it can be accessed outside of the class. So through this getter and setter public method, I can access the private member name outside of my class. And what is the use of this keyword? This keyword refers to the current instance because my class variable also name, my function variable also name. So if I put just name is equal to name, there is a naming conflict. The left side name belongs to what, right name refers to what. We are not able to differentiate both of the thing. So we are going to give this keyword. What this keyword represents? It is a current reference of the class. And this right side name refers to the local variable which is passed through the function. So now I am going to access the private member name using this public getter function and the setter function. So by using this get name, I can get the name because get name is now a public method. Through that public method, I am trying to access the private data member name. And you just display and check. So it's not printing, so I need to display this out. So when you see this get name, the get name function is having a return type. It's returning some string, so I need to get it back. So I am getting it and I am trying to print it. Yes, so John get printed. Now I want to rename or I want to change the value, the private member name for that particular object instance. I want to change it to James. So I need to use with s1 dot set name. So here I'm going to pass the name is James. So automatically it will call this set name function. The James will be passed. Previously it is John. Now it will be replaced with James. After doing that, I'm just trying to print it. So s1 dot get name. So now the value get rewrite. So John becomes James. Okay. So whenever you create, so here the object S is one instance of a class and object S1 is the another instance of a class. Every time you create new object, these are called as new instance of a particular class, and by using the new keyword, it will create a separate memory location for each and every object instance. So if I make any changes in one object, that will not be reflected in the another object, because the object S will be available in a separate memory, object S1 will be available in a separate memory. So this is the overall information how you can use classes and object, and how you can initialize the data members using the constructor, and how you can access the private data members outside of the class using the getter and setter. So again, you may think that can I have this both classes in the same file? Okay, so it's not like that, because if you have, now I have only one class, so not a problem, I can keep it both the classes in the same file. But when you develop some project, you may have multiple classes and the line of code also very large. So that time, if you try to manage the entire code in a single file, the debugging is very difficult. So that time what you have to do, your main is available separately, and then you need to create a class separately for the student. Okay, the student class is created separately, but that class doesn't have any public static void main. So finish it, that class get created. Already we have created the class. So I just copied this class. So I can keep my student class as a separate file, and then in the main program, I just create the object, and then I can use the object reference to invoke the members of the particular class. So when I run the thing, I'm getting the same answer. So you can keep your class inside the same file, or the better practice is you have to put every class file in a separate file. Okay, again the class name here should be same as the file name, because this file having only one class file, only one class. So the file name and the class name is same. So like that you can create any number of classes in a separate file. But if you want to access these classes inside a main, create an object, then you can invoke the data members through the object. So by using this, you can do your experiment number 4 in Java programming. Thank you.